The rifle bucked against Maya Chen's shoulder. One shot, two, three, four, five. All center mass at 800 meters in under 3 seconds. The laughter behind her died like someone had cut the sound. She didn't turn around. Didn't need to see their faces to know what they looked like now, shock replacing the smirks, disbelief wiping away the contempt. Weak bitch, Gunnery Sergeant Brad Sullivan had called her 2 minutes ago, loud enough for everyone to hear. Now he stood there silent, watching a 5'2", 115-pound woman make his best shooters look like amateurs with BB guns. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the end of this story. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Maya's story travels across the world. The morning sun beat down on the qualification range at Naval Special Warfare Command in Coronado, California, turning the sand to something that felt like walking on a griddle. Maya Chen had been standing on that griddle for 3 hours now, waiting her turn, while 27 male operators cycled through their qualifications. Each one took their time. Each one made sure she saw exactly how good they were. She didn't mind waiting. She'd been waiting her whole life. "You really think you belong here?" The voice came from her left. Petty Officer First Class Derek Martinez, 28 years old, 6 feet of muscle and ego wrapped in Navy utilities. "I mean, seriously, look at you." Maya kept her eyes forward. "I'm looking at the target, Martinez. You should try it sometime." "Oh, she's got jokes." Martinez laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Let me tell you something, sweetheart. I've been in the teams for 6 years. 6 years. I've done things that would make you cry yourself to sleep." "Probably," Maya said quietly. "But I'm still going to outshoot you." The men around them stirred. Whispers rippled through the group like wind through grass. "You didn't talk like that. Not when you were the new person. Not when you were a woman. Definitely not when you were both." Martinez's face darkened. "You want to put money on that Chen? I don't need your money." Maya finally turned to look at him. "I just need you to stop talking so I can concentrate." "Petty Officer Chen," the range master's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "You're up." Maya walked to the firing line, aware of every eye on her. 27 men, all of them waiting for her to fail. All of them needing her to fail so their world could make sense again. She settled into position behind the rifle, a modified M110 SAS semi-automatic chambered in 7.62. Her hands moved automatically, checking the weapon with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. Because she had. "Target acquisition," the range master called out. 800 meters. Wind east-northeast at 12 knots. 5 shots, center mass. You have 30 seconds. Maya's breathing slowed. Her heart rate dropped. The world narrowed to 3 things: the rifle, the target, and the space between them. Her father's voice echoed in her head, the same words he'd told her when she was 10 years old, standing in the Montana wilderness with a rifle almost as big as she was. "Size doesn't matter behind a scope, Maya Bear. Breathing patience mathematics. That's all you need." She pulled the trigger. The first round hit dead center. The second, less than an inch away. Third, fourth, fifth, all clustered so tight you could cover them with a quarter. 5 shots in 2.3 seconds. The range fell silent. Maya stood, cleared the weapon, and stepped back from the line. She didn't smile, didn't celebrate. Just walked back to her position and waited. The range master checked his spotting scope 3 times before he spoke. "Perfect score. All rounds within... Jesus Christ, within .25 inches. That's a new range record." Nobody said anything. Then Gunnery Sergeant Brad Sullivan stepped forward from where he'd been watching near the range tower. 6'3", 230 pounds of special warfare operator with 11 years in the teams and a reputation for crushing anyone who challenged the established order. "Lucky shots," Sullivan said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Let's see her do it again. Cold bore. No warm-up." The range master looked uncomfortable. "Gunny, she already I said let's see her do it again." Sullivan's voice carried the weight of rank and certainty. "Unless she's afraid she can't replicate it." Maya met his eyes. "Same distance. Make it 1,000 meters." Sullivan smiled, but there was nothing friendly in it. "And let's make it interesting. You miss even one shot, you withdraw your application for the JSOC assignment. You go back to being a keyboard warrior in the intelligence center where you belong. And when I don't miss, Maya asked quietly. Sullivan's smile widened. Then I'll personally recommend you for the assignment. You have my word as a SEAL. Your word means something. Maya let that hang in the air for a second. Good to know. I accept. The rangemaster reset the target. 1,000 meters now, almost 2/3 of a mile. Wind had picked up to 15 knots, gusting to 18. Heat shimmer made the target waver like it was underwater. Maya settled back into position. This time she took her time. Checked the scope, calculated windage, adjusted for the heat shimmer and the slight upward slope to the target. Her father had taught her to shoot when she was 10, right after her mother died. You need something to focus on, he'd said, hands gentle as he showed her how to hold the rifle. Something where the world makes sense, where everything is mathematics and breath control and patience. He'd been a Marine Scout sniper. 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. He'd come home from that last tour different, quiet, or distant, like part of him had stayed in those mountains. But when they were on the range together, he was himself again. Focused, present, alive. She was 17 when the Marine Corps Honor Guard showed up at their door in Montana, IED outside Kabul. Her father had died instantly, they said. Like that was supposed to make it better. Maya fired. 5 shots. Perfect pattern. Even tighter than before. The rangemaster's voice shook slightly when he announced the result. Perfect score. All rounds within 0.18 inches. At 1,000 meters. I've never seen anything like this. Sullivan's face had gone from tan to red to something approaching purple. She got lucky twice, that's all. Gunny. The rangemaster's voice carried a warning. That's not luck. That's skill. I don't care what it is. Sullivan stepped closer to Maya, using his size to intimidate, forcing her to look up at him. You might be able to shoot Chen, I'll give you that. But shooting paper targets isn't the same as combat. It isn't the same as making life or death decisions when bullets are flying and your brothers are bleeding out. You're not strong enough for that. You're not built for it. Maya didn't step back, didn't flinch. With respect, Gunnery Sergeant, you don't know what I'm built for. I know exactly what you're built for, sweetheart. Sullivan's voice dropped lower, meant just for her. You're built to fail. And when you do, and you will, people are going to die because some politically correct asshole decided to put you on a team where you don't belong. Then I guess I better not fail. Sullivan leaned in even closer. You already have. You just don't know it yet. He walked away, and the other operators followed him like iron filings following a magnet. Within 30 seconds, Maya was alone on the range except for the rangemaster. Don't let him get to you, the rangemaster said quietly. He was older, maybe 50, with the weathered look of someone who'd seen too much. Sullivan's old school. He doesn't like change. He doesn't have to like it, Maya said. He just has to work with it. The rangemaster nodded slowly. That shooting was exceptional. Best I've seen in 20 years of running this range. Where'd you learn? My father. Maya started breaking down her gear. He was a Marine Scout sniper. Was KIA, Afghanistan, 8 years ago. The rangemaster was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry. What was his name? Staff Sergeant James Chen, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. Recognition flickered across the rangemaster's face. I knew Jim. Worked with him on a training evolution in 2010. Hell of a shooter. Hell of a Marine. He paused. He'd be proud of you. Maya's throat tightened, but she kept her voice steady. Thank you. Chen, another voice, this one coming from the direction of the administrative building, a woman in Navy Officer Utilities, silver oak leaves on her collar, marking her as a commander. You're wanted in the briefing room, now. Maya grabbed her gear and jogged toward the building. The commander fell into step beside her. Commander Sarah Torres, the woman said without preamble. I'm the operations officer for JSOC Task Force West. That was quite a display you put on out there. Just doing the qualification, ma'am. At world-class levels. Twice. Torres smiled slightly. I've been watching your file, Chen. Olympic development team for shooting when you were 18. Left the program after your father's death. Enlisted in the Navy instead of going to college. Top of your class in cryptologic training. Advanced degrees in mathematics and computer science completed while active duty. Fluent in Mandarin, Arabic, and Farsi. And apparently you can shoot like your father. They entered the air-conditioned building, the temperature drop immediate and shocking after the range heat. Maya's utilities were soaked with sweat. The question is, Torres continued, can you operate under pressure? Can you make split-second decisions when everything's going wrong? Because that's what we need. They entered a briefing room where 3 men were already waiting. 2 wore Navy utilities. The third wore civilian clothes, but his bearings screamed military. Petty Officer Second Class Maya Chen, Torres said formally. This is Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, SEAL Team 6. Senior Chief Mike Williams, also Team 6. And this is Mr. Smith from our friends at Langley. Morrison stood slowly. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of face that had seen too much, but hadn't broken yet. Probably 32, maybe 33. Gray eyes that assessed her the way a sniper assesses terrain, looking for weaknesses, threats, opportunities. You're smaller than I expected, Morrison said. I'm exactly as tall as I've always been, sir, Maya replied. Williams, the senior chief, barked a laugh. She's got spirit, I'll give her that. Spirit doesn't keep you alive when things go sideways, Morrison said. Commander Torres says you're good with signals intelligence, encryption, all the cyber stuff. Yes, sir. And you can shoot. Yes, sir. Morrison exchanged glances with Williams. We've got a problem. High-value target in Yemen. Terrorist facilitator named Hassan al-Zawahiri. He's planning something big. Multiple simultaneous attacks across 3 continents. We have a narrow window to grab him and his intelligence before he disappears. What's the problem? Maya asked. The problem. Mr. Smith spoke for the first time, his voice carrying the flat accent of someone from the Midwest, is that al-Zawahiri has upgraded his communications security. Military-grade encryption, constantly changing protocols, the works. Our usual methods of real-time intelligence gathering aren't working. We need someone who can be on-site in the operational environment, decrypting his communications in real time while the team executes. Understanding dawned. You need someone who's both a signals intelligence operator and can function in a direct action environment. Exactly, Torres said. And you're one of 3 people in the entire military with both the technical clearances and the combat qualifications to do it. Who are the other 2? Maya asked. Dead, Morrison said bluntly. IED in Iraq last month, which leaves you. I'm honored, but nothing, Morrison cut her off. You're not being asked, petty officer. You're being voluntold. This mission launches in 72 hours. You're either on the bird with my team or you're explaining to the families of the victims why you weren't there when we could have stopped it. Maya felt the weight of those words settle on her shoulders. When do we start training, sir? Right now. Morrison stood. My team's waiting at the team room. Let's see if you can keep up. They walked across the compound in silence. Maya could feel Morrison's skepticism radiating off him like heat. Williams walked on her other side, occasionally glancing at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. Sullivan already called me, Morrison said finally. Told me you were trouble. Said you're just here to make a political statement. Sullivan doesn't know me, sir. Maybe not, but he knows combat. And combat doesn't care about your test scores or your shooting range numbers. Combat cares about whether you can function when you're scared shitless and your friends are dying around you. Morrison stopped walking and turned to face her. Can you... Maya met his eyes. I guess we'll find out, sir. That's what I'm afraid of. They entered a building marked only with a number Building 7. Inside 6 men were gearing up. All of them stopped what they were doing when Maya walked in. Gentlemen, Morrison announced, this is Petty Officer Chen. She's our signals intelligence operator for the Yemen OP. Chen, meet your team. The introductions were brief and formal. Master Chief Tom Harris, the team sergeant. Petty officers, First Class, Rick Martinez, David Chen, no relation, and James Rodriguez. Petty officers, second-class Kyle Murphy, and Sean O'Connor. All of them looked at her with varying degrees of skepticism, and standing in the back, arms crossed expression, dark gunnery Sergeant Brad Sullivan. "What's he doing here?" Maya asked quietly. "Gunny Sullivan is attached to us as liaison from MARSOC," Morrison explained. "He's our explosive ordnance specialist for this operation. Problem?" "No, sir." Maya kept her voice neutral. "No problem at all." Sullivan smiled. It looked like a shark smiling at a wounded seal. "Good," Morrison said, "because we've got 72 hours to become a cohesive unit. That means training together, eating together, sleeping in shifts together. By the time we board that bird, I need to trust every person in this room with my life." He paused. "Right now, I don't trust any of you with a wet paper bag, so let's fix that." The training started immediately. Equipment familiarization, mission planning, communications protocols. Maya absorbed it all, making notes, asking questions when necessary, staying quiet when wisdom dictated. The technical side was easy. The encrypted communications equipment, the portable servers, the satellite uplinks, she'd worked with all of it before. What was new was integrating it into a direct action environment. "You'll be positioned here," Williams explained, pointing to a satellite map of the target compound. 300 meters from the main building. Overwatch position with line of sight to the compound and the 2 primary access roads. Your job is to monitor and decrypt all communications in real-time, feed intelligence to the team as they execute. "What if the team needs fire support?" Maya asked. The room went quiet. "Your job is intelligence, not shooting," Morrison said firmly. "You stay in your hide, you do your job, and you let us do ours." "But if—" "No buts, petty officer. You're not there to be a shooter. You're there to be our eyes and ears in the electromagnetic spectrum. That's it. Are we clear?" "Crystal, sir." But Maya could see it in their eyes. Every one of them thought she'd be a liability. The weak link. The reason the mission might fail. They trained through the afternoon and into the evening. Movement drills, communications checks, emergency procedures. Maya performed adequately, but not exceptionally. She was half a step slower than the rest. Her equipment was heavier because of all the tech. She struggled with some of the physical demands. Sullivan made sure everyone noticed. "Come on, Chen," he called out during a movement drill. "My grandmother could move faster than that, and she's been dead for 10 years. "Leave her alone, Gunny," Rodriguez said quietly. "Leave her alone. We're going into a hostile environment in 3 days and she can barely keep up in training. What happens when bullets start flying? When we need to move fast, and she's dragging 20 pounds of computer equipment. She's going to get someone killed. Rodriguez. Maybe you. Maybe me." "She qualified the mission parameters," Williams interjected. "She's here. Deal with it." "I'll deal with it when she quits," Sullivan shot back. "Which she will. They always do." Maya said nothing. Just kept moving, kept training, kept pushing through the exhaustion and the doubt and the voice in her head that whispered, "Maybe they're right. Maybe you don't belong here." By 2200 hours, they called it a night. The team dispersed to their quarters. Maya was heading to hers when Morrison caught up with her. "Walk with me," he said. They walked through the compound in silence for a minute before Morrison spoke. "You did okay today. Not great, but okay." "Thank you, sir." "That wasn't a compliment, Chen. Okay doesn't cut it where we're going. Okay gets people killed." Morrison stopped walking. "Tell me the truth. Why are you really here? Is this about your father?" The question hit like a punch. "Excuse me. I read your file. All of it. Your father was killed in Afghanistan. You joined up 6 months later. Now you're trying to get into direct action work." Morrison's voice wasn't unkind, but it was relentless. "Are you trying to prove something to him, to yourself? Because if you are, this isn't the place for it." "My father has nothing to do with this." "Bullshit. Everything we do has something to do with where we came from." Morrison crossed his arms. "I lost my brother in Fallujah. He was a Marine Lance Corporal. Died in a house-clearing operation. For years, I thought if I just worked harder, trained longer, became the best operator I could be somehow, that would make his death mean something." "Did it?" Maya asked quietly. "No. His death means exactly what it meant the day it happened. A good man died doing a hard job in a bad place. Nothing I do will ever change that. Morrison's eyes were hard. But what I can do is make sure I'm good enough that other people's brothers don't die. Other people's fathers. That's the job, Chen. Not proving anything. Not making peace with ghosts. Just being so goddamn good that the people around you have a better chance of going home. That's what I'm trying to do, sir. Then you need to be better than okay. You need to be exceptional, because 3 days from now we're going into Indian country, and exceptional is the bare minimum required for survival. Morrison walked away, leaving Maya alone in the darkness. She stood there for a long moment, her father's face clear in her memory. Not the way he looked in the coffin, they'd kept it closed because of the IED damage, but the way he looked on the range. Calm, centered, alive. "I'm not doing this for you, Dad," she whispered to the darkness. "I'm doing this because it's who I am." But even as she said it, she wondered if it was true. The next 2 days blurred together. More training, more skepticism, more of Sullivan's comments that cut just deep enough to draw blood without leaving visible marks. "You sure you want to be here, Chen?" he asked during an equipment check. "Nobody would think less of you if you withdrew. Well, nobody would think less of you than they already do. I'm sure, Gunny. Because once we're wheels up, there's no quitting, no safe spaces, no time out because someone hurt your feelings. I understand." Do you really understand what combat is like? It's not a shooting range where you get second chances. It's chaos and fear and blood. It's watching your friends die and knowing you might be next. It's making decisions in microseconds that you'll think about for the rest of your life. Sullivan leaned closer. "And it's trusting the people next to you with everything you have. Can I trust you, Chen?" "Yes, Gunny. Prove it." The final training evolution was a full mission rehearsal. They ran through the entire operation from infill to exfil using a mock-up of the target compound built on the base's training range. Maya performed flawlessly. Her communications intercepts were accurate. Her intelligence updates were timely and actionable. She kept up with the team's movement. For the first time since she'd arrived, she felt like maybe she belonged. Then Sullivan triggered the scenario change. "IED on primary exfil route," he shouted. "2 casualties down. We're taking fire from 3 sides, Chen. We need fire support now." Maya's training took over. She dropped her communications gear, grabbed her rifle, and moved to provide covering fire for the simulated casualties. "Check fire. Check fire." Morrison's voice cut through the chaos. "Training evolution complete." Everyone froze. Morrison walked toward Maya slowly, his expression unreadable. "Petty Officer Chen, what were your orders for this scenario?" "To maintain communications monitoring and provide real-time intelligence, sir." "And what did you just do?" "I provided fire support when the team was in danger, sir." "No." Morrison's voice went cold. "What you did was abandon your primary mission to play hero. You left your communications equipment unattended. You stopped monitoring enemy comms. For all we know, reinforcements were rolling up while you were pretending to be Rambo." "But sir, the team was taking casualties. In a simulation. This was a test, Chen. A test to see if you could stick to your mission parameters when things went to hell. And you failed." The words hit like a hammer. "Sir, You did exactly what I was afraid you'd do. You let emotion override judgment. You saw people in danger and abandoned your job to try to fix it." Morrison shook his head. "That's not how this works. Everyone has a role. Your role is intelligence, not shooting. The moment you step outside that role, people die. Real people, not training dummies." Maya's face burned. "I understand, sir. I don't think you do, but you're about to learn." Morrison turned to the rest of the team. "Everyone get some sleep. We load out at 0400. Wheels up at 0530. The team dispersed. Maya stood alone in the mock-up compound, feeling like she'd just failed the most important test of her life. "He's right, you know." Sullivan's voice came from behind her. "You don't belong here." "Maybe," Maya said without turning around. Or maybe I just need to be smarter about how I contribute. There's no smart way to be a liability, Chen. But then I guess I'll have to stop being one. She walked back to her quarters, stripped off her gear, and sat on her bunk. Tomorrow they'd be flying into Yemen. Tomorrow everything would be real. Her phone buzzed, a text from Commander Torres. Don't let them break you. They need you more than they'll admit. Trust yourself. Maya stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, I will. She lay back on her bunk, staring at the ceiling. Sleep wouldn't come. Her mind kept replaying the training evolution Morrison's words, Sullivan's contempt. At 0300, she gave up on sleep and started prepping her gear. Every piece of equipment checked twice, every battery charged, every backup system verified. If she was going to prove herself, it would be through preparation and execution, not drama, not heroics, just being so good at her job that they couldn't deny her value. By the time 0400 arrived, she was ready. The team assembled at the flight line in darkness. A C-17 weighted its cargo ramp down like a mouth ready to swallow them. They loaded equipment and practiced silence weapons, ammunition, communications, gear, medical supplies, everything they might need for a mission that could go wrong in 1,000 different ways. Maya found a seat in the webbing along the fuselage wall. Murphy sat down next to her, offering a slight nod. First real mission, he asked. Yes. Advice. Don't think too much. Trust your training. Trust the team. Everything else is just noise. What if the team doesn't trust me? Murphy smiled. Then prove them wrong. That's what I did. You were doubted. I'm 5'9" and weigh 160 soaking wet. Everyone thought I was too small. Told me I'd never make it through buds. That I'd never be a SEAL. That I'd never earn my place on the teams. He shrugged. So I worked twice as hard, became twice as good. Now nobody questions whether I belong. They just know I'll do my job. How long did that take? Still working on it. Murphy's smile widened. The doubting never really stops, Chen. You just get better at ignoring it. The engines spooled up. The cargo ramp closed. The aircraft taxied and then lifted off, climbing into the pre-dawn darkness. They were committed now. No turning back. Maya closed her eyes and let her father's voice echo through her memory one more time. Size doesn't matter behind a scope, Maya Bear. Breathing, patience, mathematics. That's all you need. She'd add one more thing to that list. Trust. In herself. In her skills. In her preparation. The mission had begun. The C-17's interior vibrated with the constant drone of engines, a sound that got inside your bones and stayed there. Maya checked her equipment for the 5th time, hands moving automatically through the checklist her father had taught her. Check your primary. Check your backup. Check your backup's backup. You're going to wear out your gear before we even land, Rodriguez said from across the cargo bay. His voice carried no malice, just observation. Better to wear it out checking than find out it doesn't work when I need it, Maya replied. Morrison stood up from where he'd been reviewing mission maps with Williams. Listen up. We're 2 hours from drop. Final brief. He pulled out a tablet projecting a holographic map into the center of the cargo bay. Target compound is here 15 clicks outside Sana'a. Hassan al-Zawahiri and his top lieutenants are meeting to finalize their attack plans. We have a 6-hour window from the time we hit the ground to the time his security rotates. What's the security situation? Harris asked. 30 to 40 fighters, mix of experienced jihadists and local recruits, heavy weapons on the roof, technical vehicles in the compound. They're expecting trouble, just not from us. Morrison zoomed in on the compound. Chen, your position is here. Ridgeline overlooking the compound 800 meters out. You'll have line of sight to their communications center in the main building. Maya studied the position. Exposed. Isolated. If things went wrong, she'd be alone. What's my contingency if I'm compromised? She asked. You're not going to be compromised, Sullivan interjected, because you're going to stay exactly where we put you and do exactly what we tell you. No heroics, no improvisation. Just sit there and decode their chatter. And if enemy patrols sweep the ridgeline, Maya pressed. Morrison's jaw tightened. Then you go dark. Bury your equipment. Hide. Wait for extraction. Under no circumstances do you engage. You're not a shooter on this mission, Chen. You're an intelligence asset. Assets don't fight. They survive. The words stung, but Maya nodded. Understood, sir. Good. Because if you go cowboy on me, if you decide to start shooting when you should be monitoring, I will personally drag your ass back to Coronado and end your career. Are we clear? Crystal, sir. The briefing continued for another 30 minutes. Insertion points, rally points, communication protocols, extraction contingencies. Maya absorbed it all, building a three-dimensional map in her mind. When Morrison finished, the team settled into the strange liminal space that exists before combat. Not quite calm, not quite tense. The place where you check your gear one more time, where you think about home, where you wonder if this might be the mission that doesn't end well. Murphy pulled out a photo, stared at it for a moment, then tucked it back into his vest. Chen, the other Chen David, was writing in a small notebook. Harris was cleaning his weapon with the focus of a monk in meditation. What are you thinking about? Rodriguez asked Maya quietly. My father, she admitted. He used to say that combat was 99% waiting and 1% terror. He was a Marine, right? Scout sniper, 2 tours, Iraq, 1 Afghanistan. Maya paused. The Afghanistan tour killed him. Rodriguez nodded slowly. My uncle was Army, Ranger Battalion. Mogadishu, 1993. He made it home, but part of him stayed there. He'd wake up screaming sometimes. My aunt would find him sitting in the dark, just staring at nothing. He looked at Maya. Your dad ever talk about what he saw? Not much. He'd get this look in his eyes sometimes, like he was seeing through you to something else, something far away. Maya's throat tightened. The day before he deployed for his last tour, he took me shooting. We spent the whole day on the range, just the 2 of us. He told me that no matter what happened, I should remember that skill and discipline could overcome almost anything. Size, strength, fear, none of it mattered as much as being prepared and staying calm. Sounds like a smart man. He was, until an IED turned his convoy into scrap metal. The cargo bay fell silent except for the engine noise. Then Williams called out, 30 minutes to drop zone, start prepping. The team moved with practiced efficiency. Night vision goggles checked and mounted, weapons loaded, radio checks performed. Maya pulled on her gear 40 pounds of communications equipment, encrypted laptop satellite uplink, backup batteries, and enough technical gear to run a small NSA listening post. On top of that, her rifle sidearm ammunition and survival equipment. By the time she was fully kitted, she was carrying close to 80 pounds. Sullivan watched her struggle with the weight and smiled. You sure you can move with all that, Chen? Because if you slow us down on the infill, I'll manage Gunny. Managing isn't good enough. You need to keep pace or you get left behind. Morrison stepped between them. Sullivan, enough. Chen made it through the training. She'll make it through the mission. He turned to Maya. Won't you, petty officer? Yes, sir. Good, because I'm not carrying your gear for you. The aircraft began its descent, the change in engine pitch sending Maya's stomach into free fall. She'd done airborne training, but jumping out of a perfectly good aircraft never got comfortable. 5 minutes, sir, the loadmaster called out. The team lined up at the ramp. Maya found her place in the chalk order, 4th from last, with only Sullivan and O'Connor behind her. Her heart hammered against her ribs. First combat jump, Williams asked, appearing beside her. Yes, Senior Chief. Advice, don't think. Just go when it's your turn. Your body knows what to do. Trust the training. And if the chute doesn't open, Williams grinned, then you'll have about 30 seconds of absolute clarity about what really matters in life. But the chute will open. They always do. Always. 99.9% of the time. You'll be fine. Somehow that wasn't as reassuring as Williams probably intended. The ramp began to lower, revealing the night sky over Yemen. Desert stretched below them, dark and featureless. No lights, no civilization, just emptiness. 1 minute. Maya's hands shook as she checked her static line one final time. The weight of her gear pulled at her shoulders. The rifle strapped to her chest felt like an anchor. 30 seconds. The red light by the ramp turned green. Go, go, go! Harris launched himself out the ramp, disappearing into the darkness. Rodriguez followed. Then Chen. Then Murphy. Then it was Maya's turn. She stepped to the edge, felt the wind tearing at her uniform, saw the absolute blackness below, and jumped. The slipstream caught her, spinning her body. Then the static line snapped tight, the parachute deployed, and suddenly she was floating instead of falling. The silence after the aircraft's roar was profound. Maya looked up, confirmed her canopy was good, then scanned for the rest of the team. Green chem lights marked their positions, scattered across the night sky like fallen stars. The ground rushed up faster than expected. Maya pulled on her risers, trying to steer toward the designated landing zone. The desert floor was invisible in the darkness distance, impossible to judge. Impact came hard. Maya hit, rolled, came up, tangled in parachute lines. She fought free, gathered the chute, and immediately checked her gear. Communications equipment intact. Weapons secure. Nothing broken. Chen's status? Morrison's voice crackled in her earpiece. Green, sir. All equipment functional. Good. Rally point Alpha 5 minutes. Maya buried her parachute, marked the location with a GPS coordinate, and started moving. The terrain was rougher than the satellite imagery suggested. Rocks and gullies made every step treacherous with 80 pounds of gear. She found the team assembled in a wadi, Morrison consulting a GPS unit while the others pulled security. We're 3 clicks from the target, Morrison said quietly. Chen, Harris, you break off here and head to the overwatch position. Rest of us continue to the compound. Insertion is in 90 minutes. I want your equipment up and running in 60 Chen. That gives us 30 minutes to confirm communications before we go loud. Yes, sir. Harris, she's your responsibility until we're on target. Keep her alive and keep her working. Roger that, sir. Maya and Harris broke off from the main group, heading north toward the ridgeline. Harris moved like a shadow, effortlessly navigating the terrain despite carrying almost as much gear as Maya. She struggled to keep up, her legs burning, lungs heaving. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, Harris said without looking back. Don't try to match my pace. Just keep moving steadily. We've got time. They climbed for 30 minutes, the ridgeline growing closer. Maya's shoulders screamed from the gear weight. Sweat soaked her uniform despite the cool night air. Almost there, Harris said. Another 100 meters. Then they heard voices. Harris dropped flat instantly. Maya followed a half-second later, her heart suddenly in her throat. How many? She whispered. Harris held up 3 fingers, then pointed left, indicating the voices were moving parallel to their position. They lay frozen as a patrol passed less than 50 meters away. 3 men, AK-47s, slung casually, talking in Arabic about tomorrow's guard rotation. They had no idea 2 American operators were lying in the rocks watching them. The patrol moved on. Harris waited a full 5 minutes before moving again. That was the perimeter security, he said quietly. Means we're close. Also means they're more alert than intelligence suggested. Stay sharp. They reached the ridgeline and found the overwatch position, a small depression between 2 large rocks that provided concealment and a clear view of the target compound below. Maya immediately started unpacking her communications gear while Harris set up a defensive perimeter. Equipment status. Morrison's voice crackled in her ear. Setting up now, sir. Give me 20 minutes. Maya's hands moved through the setup with mechanical precision. Antenna array deployed. Laptop powered up. Encryption protocols initialized. Satellite uplink established. She worked by feel more than sight, having practiced this setup hundreds of times in training. 15 minutes later, she had a full communications intercept array operational. Overwatch to actual systems green. I have multiple voice communications data streams and cell phone traffic. Beginning decryption now. Copy Overwatch, keep us informed. Maya plugged into the enemy's communications network like a surgeon opening a body. The encryption was good military grade, constantly rotating, but her algorithms were better. Within minutes, she was listening to their conversations in real time. Actual, I have eyes on target communications, confirming Hassan al-Zawahiri is in the compound. He's on a satellite phone talking to someone in Riyadh about finalization of attack plans. Can you get specifics? Morrison asked. Maya listened, her Arabic fluent enough to catch every nuance. He's coordinating 3 simultaneous strikes, Paris, London, and New York. Targets are, Jesus, targets are subway systems during morning rush hour, sarin gas attacks. The silence on the radio was profound. When Morrison's voice was tight. 72 hours from now, Wednesday morning. He's waiting for final confirmation from his suppliers that the gas canisters are ready. Copy. Continue monitoring. We're moving to assault positions. Maya watched through her night vision scope as Morrison's team approached the compound. They moved like ghosts, using dead ground and shadows to stay invisible. 4 men would assault the main building. 2 would secure the communications center. Morrison would personally take al-Zawahiri. Multiple guards on the roof, Maya reported. Count 6 all armed with AKs. 2 technical vehicles in the courtyard, engines cold. I'm picking up communications chatter indicating a guard rotation in 10 minutes. That's our window, Morrison said. Execute in 9 minutes. Mark. Maya watched the seconds tick down on her timer. 8 minutes. 7. 6. Then everything went to hell. An explosion erupted from the south side of the compound, nowhere near where Morrison's team was positioned. Maya's equipment registered the blast signature immediately. Contact South IED detonation, someone yelled over the radio. Gunfire erupted. Tracers ripped through the darkness. Men shouted in Arabic and English. Chen, what the fuck is happening? Morrison's voice cut through the chaos. Maya frantically scanned her intercepts. They knew we were coming. There's a second team on site, mercenaries. Russians. They're engaging your position from the south perimeter. How many? I count at least 15. They've got technical vehicles and heavy weapons. Actual, this was a trap. Someone sold us out. More explosions. The entire compound lit up like a football stadium. Maya could see Morrison's team pinned down behind a low wall taking fire from 3 directions. Overwatch, we need fire support, Williams yelled. We're getting cut to pieces. Maya's training screamed at her. Your job is intelligence. Do not engage. Stay hidden. Let them handle it. But she could see Sullivan dragging a wounded Rodriguez behind cover. Could see Murphy trying to return fire with one arm hanging useless. Could see Morrison attempting to rally the team while bullets tore chunks out of the wall protecting them. They had maybe 2 minutes before they were overrun. Her father's voice echoed. Skill and discipline can overcome anything. Morrison's voice. Your role is intelligence, not shooting. The moment you step outside that role, people die. But people were dying right now, her people. Maya made her decision. Overwatch to actual, I'm engaging. Negative Chen, stay in position. That's an order. Maya ignored him. She left her communications equipment running but grabbed her rifle, found a shooting position with clear lines of sight to the compound and started working. First target, machine gun position on the roof that was shredding Morrison's position. 800 meters wind from the east at 10 knots, target moving. She breathed out slowly, squeezed the trigger. The machine gunner dropped. Second target, RPG team setting up to destroy Morrison's cover. 750 meters, slight uphill angle. Breathe. Squeeze. Fire. The RPG gunner collapsed. His assistant grabbed the weapon. Maya shot him too. Who the fuck is shooting? Sullivan yelled. It's Chen, Harris said. She's providing overwatch fire. I told her to stay. Morrison's response was cut off by another explosion. Maya didn't care. She was in the zone now, that place her father had taught her to find, where the world narrowed to breath and trigger and target. Nothing else existed. Third and fourth targets. 2 men advancing on the team's position with grenades. Both dropped before they could throw. Technical vehicle incoming from the west, Williams shouted. Maya saw it, a Toyota truck mounted with a heavy machine gun racing toward the compound. 900 meters and closing fast. She aimed for the driver, compensated for the vehicle's speed and the extreme angle. Fired. The truck swerved violently, crashed into a wall, and exploded. Jesus Christ, someone breathed over the radio. Chen, how many rounds do you have? Morrison asked, his voice strained. 214, sir. Make them count. We're moving to the secondary extraction point. Cover our movement. Maya provided precision fire as the team broke contact and began their fighting retreat. Every shot she took eliminated a threat. Every target she engaged bought them seconds they desperately needed. But more fighters kept coming. The Russians had turned this into a full-scale battle. We've got wounded, Harris called out. Rodriguez took shrapnel. Murphy's arm is broken and Sullivan static. Harris, say again. What about Sullivan? He's hit bad, chest wound. We need immediate medevac. Maya's blood went cold. Sullivan, who'd called her weak, who'd said she didn't belong, who'd tried to break her, was dying. Extraction helicopter is 20 minutes out, Morrison said. We need to hold the secondary position until they arrive. We won't make it 20 minutes, Williams said flatly. We're almost out of ammunition and we've got 3 men who can't fight. Maya scanned the battlefield through her scope. She could see Morrison's team hunkered down in a small depression surrounded on 3 sides. The Russians were setting up a final assault, bringing up their heavy weapons for the kill. Her communications equipment beeped. She glanced at the screen and her heart stopped. Actual, I'm picking up communications in Russian. They're calling in mortar fire on your position. Impact in 90 seconds. Fuck. Morrison's voice held a note Maya had never heard before, fear. We can't move the wounded fast enough. We're done. Maya stared at her rifle, at the compound below, at the impossible mathematics of the situation. 70 seconds until mortar impact. 20 minutes until extraction. 6 men, 3 wounded, surrounded by 15 to 20 enemy fighters. Unless. Actual, I have a plan. Chen, now is not the time. They don't know where I am. They think all the fire is coming from your position. I can relocate, hit them from a different angle, make them think there's a second team, buy you the time you need. Negative. You're staying put, that's an order. With respect, sir, your orders are going to get everyone killed. I can do this. 60 seconds. Chen, if you leave that position, you're on your own. We can't support you. We can't extract you. You understand that? Maya grabbed her rifle and started moving. I understand. God damn it, Chen. She switched off her radio. Couldn't listen to Morrison telling her all the reasons this wouldn't work. Couldn't let doubt creep in. She ran along the ridgeline carrying only her rifle and basic combat load, moving fast, staying low, using every bit of cover. 40 seconds. She found a new position 400 meters west of her original hide. Closer to the compound. More exposed. But with clear sight lines to where the Russians were setting up their assault. 30 seconds. Maya settled into a shooting position and started firing. Not at the fighters at their vehicles, at their equipment, at anything that would make noise and draw attention. The Russians reacted exactly as she'd hoped. Confused, disoriented, thinking they were facing a larger force than just one woman with a rifle. 20 seconds. Contact west, someone shouted in Russian. The mortar team paused, redirecting their fire toward Maya's position instead of Morrison's. 10 seconds. Maya was already moving again, sprinting to yet another position. Behind her, mortar rounds impacted where she'd just been turning the ridgeline into a hellscape of rock and shrapnel. She found cover behind a boulder and started engaging targets again. Methodical. Precise. Every shot counted because she was down to less than 100 rounds now. Chen's status. Harris's voice crackled. She'd forgotten to turn off her radio. I'm mobile, drawing their fire. How's your situation? Better. The mortar fire shifted away from us. We've got a chance now. A pause. You saved our asses, Chen. Tell me that when we're all back at base. How's Sullivan? Alive. Barely. We've got tourniquets on him, but he's lost a lot of blood. Maya pushed down the surge of emotion. Understood. Keep him breathing. Extraction bird. 15 minutes. She could last 15 minutes. Probably. Maya kept moving, kept shooting, kept the Russians focused on her instead of Morrison's team. But she was running out of ammunition and real estate. The ridgeline only offered so many positions. Down to 60 rounds. A bullet snapped past her head so close she felt the heat. They were getting her range now, figuring out where she was. 40 rounds. Extraction inbound, Morrison announced. Chen, we're loading wounded. What's your position? Maya looked at the compound below at the Russians regrouping for another push at the distance between her position and where the helicopter would land. "I'm not going to make it to the extract point, sir." Silence on the radio. "Say again, Chen." "I'm 300 meters from your position with hostiles between us. By the time I disengage and move, the bird will be gone. Then we wait." "Negative, sir. You've got critically wounded. You can't wait. Get Sullivan and the others out." "Chen." "That's not a request, sir. Get them home. I'll find my own way back." 20 rounds left. The helicopter appeared on the horizon, rotors beating the air. Maya watched Morrison's team load the wounded. Watched Sullivan's limp form being carried aboard. Watched the bird lift off and disappear into the darkness. She was alone now, in enemy territory, with less than 20 rounds of ammunition. The Russians would be looking for her now, searching the ridgeline. And when they found her, she'd be outnumbered 20-1. Maya smiled grimly. Her father had always said the odds didn't matter if you were good enough. Time to find out if she was. Maya counted her remaining ammunition one more time. 18 rounds. 18 pieces of brass and copper between her and capture. Between her and whatever the Russians and al-Zawahiri's people would do to an American female operator who'd just killed a dozen of their men. She couldn't think about that. Couldn't let fear make decisions for her. Her communications equipment was still running back at her original position, 800 meters away. If she could reach it, she could call for extraction, could upload the intelligence she'd gathered, could complete the mission even if she didn't make it out. Big if. Voices drifted up from below, Russian and Arabic mixing together in a coordinated search pattern. They were sweeping the ridgeline, systematically working their way toward her position. Maya backed away slowly, using the terrain to mask her movement. Every rock could hide an enemy. Every shadow could be death waiting. Her radio crackled to life. "Chen, this is Morrison. Do you copy?" She couldn't respond. Voice discipline was everything now. One word in the wrong place and they'd triangulate her position. "Chen, if you can hear me, we're working on getting you out. Secondary extraction is being coordinated. We need you to survive for the next 4 hours. Can you do that?" 4 hours. Might as well be 4 years. Maya kept moving, working her way back toward her equipment cache. She'd covered maybe 200 meters when she heard it, the distinctive metallic click of a weapon being charged. "Don't move." The voice was Russian, heavily accented. "Put down rifle, slowly." Maya froze. Calculated angles and distances. The voice came from behind and to her left. Maybe 10 feet. Close enough that any sudden movement would get her killed. "I am putting it down," she said in Russian, her accent perfect thanks to her linguistics training. "Don't shoot," surprise in his voice. "You speak Russian." "My grandmother was from Moscow." Maya lowered her rifle slowly, letting it rest on the ground. "I'm just a communication specialist. I don't want trouble." "Communication specialist who kills 12 of my men." The Russian moved closer. She could hear his footsteps on the rocky ground. "I don't think so. I was providing covering fire for my team. They left me behind." Maya injected bitterness into her voice. "Americans. They care more about their own than they do about—" She moved, spinning low. Maya grabbed a rock the size of a softball and threw it at where the voice had been. Heard it connect with a satisfying thud. The Russian's rifle clattered as he stumbled backward. Maya didn't go for her rifle, too far away. Instead, she closed the distance to the Russian, using her small size to get inside his reach. Her knife cleared its sheath as she moved. They went down together in a tangle of limbs. The Russian was bigger, stronger, but Maya had surprise and desperation. Her knife found his throat. He made a gurgling sound and went still. Maya rolled off him, breathing hard, took his rifle, an AK-74 with a nearly full magazine, grabbed his radio and spare ammunition, left her own rifle behind. The AK was louder, less accurate at distance, but she had 30 rounds now instead of 18. More voices calling out in Russian. They'd heard the scuffle. Maya ran. The terrain worked against her. Loose rocks shifted under her feet. Gullies appeared out of nowhere in the darkness. She fell twice, scraping her hands and knees raw, but kept moving. Gunfire erupted behind her. They were shooting blind, hoping to get lucky. Bullets ricocheted off rocks, the sound like angry hornets. She found a crevice between two large boulders and wedged herself inside, making herself as small as possible. Forced her breathing to slow. Counted her heartbeats until they stopped racing. 4 men passed within 20 feet of her hiding spot, weapons up, moving tactically. Professionals. Not the local jihadists Morrison's team had been expecting, but trained mercenaries. "She's wounded," one of them said in Russian. "Blood trail leads this direction." Maya looked down. Sure enough, blood dripped from her left hand where she'd cut it during one of her falls. Amateur mistake. Fatal mistake. She waited until they moved past, then wrapped her hand tightly with a strip torn from her undershirt. The bleeding slowed but didn't stop entirely. Her radio crackled again. Morrison's voice urgent. "Chen, we have confirmation of secondary extraction. 4 hours, 10 minutes. Rally point is 6 clicks north of your last known position. Transmit location when you can." 6 kilometers. Might as well be 600 with hunters on her trail and only darkness for cover. But she'd trained for this. Escape and evasion. How to survive when everything went wrong. Maya started moving north using every trick her instructors had taught her. Walking on rock instead of soil to avoid leaving tracks. Doubling back on her own path to confuse followers. Using terrain features to mask her movement. She'd covered maybe 2 clicks when she heard the dogs. German shepherds, by the sound of them barking and baying as they picked up her scent. You couldn't hide from dogs. Couldn't outsmart them or outrun them. They'd follow her trail right to wherever she tried to hide. Maya's mind raced through options. Water would kill the scent, but there was no water in this desert hell. Fire would scatter the dogs, but would also pinpoint her location for everyone within 5 miles. Then she remembered something her father had told her about Vietnam, about how Viet Cong would use pepper and chemicals to confuse American tracking dogs. She didn't have pepper, but she had something else. Maya pulled a road flare from her survival kit. Standard equipment for signaling. She broke it in half, spilling the chemical compound onto the ground, then rubbed it into her boots and the hem of her pants. The smell was overwhelming, acrid and burning. She continued north, leaving a trail of chemical scent. After 300 meters, she carefully climbed onto a rock outcropping, removing her boots and throwing them as far as she could in a different direction. Then she backtracked in her socks, moving perpendicular to her original trail, stepping only on rock. The dogs arrived 5 minutes later, baying and confused by the chemical smell. Maya watched from a concealed position as handlers struggled to control them. The dogs followed the boot trail, leading their handlers away from her actual position. Bought her maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour if she was lucky. Maya continued north in her socks, her feet quickly becoming bloody and torn on the sharp rocks. Pain was irrelevant. Survival was all that mattered. 3 clicks to go. Her radio crackled with a new voice. Not Morrison. Someone else. "American operator, this is Colonel Dmitry Volkov, Russian Federation Spetsnaz. I know you can hear me." Maya said nothing, just kept moving. "You have fought well tonight. Better than we expected from a woman. Better than most men I have commanded." Volkov's English was nearly perfect. "But you are wounded. Alone. We have 30 men searching for you. Dogs. Thermal imaging. You cannot escape." Still, Maya stayed silent. "I am offering you a choice. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to Geneva Conventions. Prisoner exchange in a few weeks, then you go home. Or we find you, and my men will not be so gentle. They are angry about their dead comrades. They will make you suffer before they kill you." Maya checked her compass, adjusted her direction slightly. 2.5 clicks to the rally point. "You have 1 hour to decide," Volkov continued. "After that, I give my men permission to do whatever they wish when they find you." The transmission ended. Maya knew it was psychological warfare, knew they were trying to break her will, make her panic, and do something stupid. But knowing didn't make it less effective. The image of what would happen if they caught her played unbidden in her mind. She pushed it away, focused on movement, on survival, on the mission. Her father's voice again, a memory from when she was 15 and had lost a major shooting competition. Pressure is a choice. Maya Bear. You can let it crush you, or you can use it to make you sharper. Fear is just another variable in the equation. Another click behind her. Her feet left bloody prints on the rocks now. Every step was agony. Her radio crackled again. This time, Morrison. Chen, we're tracking Russian communications. They're converging on your position from 3 directions. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. Easy for him to say. He wasn't walking on hamburger meat that used to be feet. Maya forced herself to move faster despite the pain. Ahead, she could see the terrain starting to change. Less rock, more sand. That was bad. Sand held tracks like concrete held fingerprints. She was halfway across an open stretch when she heard the helicopter. Russian Mi-8, probably equipped with thermal imaging. If it flew over her position, she was done. Nowhere to hide in the open sand. Maya dropped flat and began covering herself with sand, working frantically. The helicopter's spotlight swept back and forth across the desert floor, searching. The light passed over her position, kept going, came back. Maya held her breath, lying absolutely still beneath a thin layer of sand. The spotlight held steady on her position for what felt like an eternity, then moved on. The helicopter continued its search pattern, moving away. Maya waited until the sound of rotors faded completely before emerging from her sandy grave, coughing and spitting grit. 1 click to go. She could see the rally point now, a small wadi that cut through the desert like a scar. Natural cover, concealment, a place where an extraction helicopter could land safely. Maya stumbled toward it, her body running on pure adrenaline now. Blood loss and exhaustion were catching up. Her vision swam, her hands shook. 200 meters from the wadi, she heard vehicles. Technical trucks' engines roaring as they raced across the desert. Searchlights cutting through the darkness. They'd figured out where she was heading. Were moving to cut her off. Maya ran. Not tactically, not carefully, just ran like her life depended on it. Because it did. The first truck crested a rise behind her. Spotlight found her instantly. Machine gun opened up, tracers ripping through the air around her. She dove into the wadi as the second burst of fire chewed up the sand where she'd been standing. Rolled down the slope and came up with her stolen AK raised. Fired 3 round bursts at the spotlight. Glass shattered. The light died. More vehicles converging now. She could hear them coming from multiple directions. They had her boxed in. Maya keyed her radio. Morrison, I'm at the rally point, but it's compromised. Multiple hostiles converging. I can't hold them off for 4 hours. Copy. Extraction is being moved up. We're trying to get approval for immediate dust-off. How immediate? Working on it. Just stay alive, Chen. The first Russians appeared at the edge of the wadi. Maya engaged them, careful shots that dropped 2 and forced the others back into cover. But they'd be flanking her position within minutes. This wadi was a grave, not a defensive position. Her magazine ran dry. She reloaded with her last stolen mag. 28 rounds left. Maybe a dozen Russians closing in. Math didn't look good. Chen, this is Volkov again. The Russian colonel's voice carried across the darkness. You are surrounded. There is no extraction coming. Your people have abandoned you. Surrender, and I give you my word you will not be harmed. Your word means shit, Volkov, Maya yelled back. She needed to keep them talking. Every second they spent negotiating was a second they weren't shooting. A sound like laughter. Perhaps. But what choice do you have? You cannot fight us all. You cannot escape. You can only die. And for what? For a mission that failed. For a team that left you behind. They didn't leave me behind. I stayed. Then you are a fool. Your sacrifice means nothing. Maya checked her watch. 3 hours and 40 minutes until the original extraction time. If she could just survive that long. If. Movement on her left flank. She fired twice. Someone cursed in Arabic. 1 hit at least. I am losing patience, Volkov called out. Surrender in the next 60 seconds or I order my men to assault your position. You will die badly American. I promise you this. Maya's hands shook as she checked her ammunition again. 24 rounds. Against how many men? 20-30. The mathematics of death were simple and brutal. 50 seconds. Her radio crackled. Morrison's voice urgent. Chen extraction is approved. Helicopter inbound. ETA 12 minutes. Can you hold that long? 12 minutes. 720 seconds. An eternity in combat. I'll hold, she said quietly. 40 seconds. Maya scanned her position, calculating fields of fire, identifying the best defensive positions within the wadi. She had the low ground, which was terrible, but the wadi walls would provide some cover from the flanks. 30 seconds. She thought about her father, about whether he'd be proud of her or furious that she'd gotten herself into this situation. Probably both. He'd always said she had more courage than sense. 20 seconds. Last chance, American, Volkov shouted. Maya raised her rifle and fired 2 shots toward his voice. Heard him curse and dive for cover. That's my answer, Colonel. Come get me if you want me. 10 seconds. The Russians opened fire from 3 sides simultaneously. The wadi erupted in muzzle flashes and the crack of supersonic rounds. Maya pressed herself against the wadi wall and returned fire in controlled bursts. 5 seconds. This was it. The last stand. The place where she'd either survive or die trying. 0. The assault came like a wave breaking on a shore. Russians and jihadists together, coordinated, professional, overwhelming. Maya fired until her magazine ran dry, then transitioned to her pistol. Fired that until the slide locked back. No ammunition left. They were 20 meters away when the sound reached her rotors beating the air. Heavy rotors. American rotors. The MH-60 helicopter appeared over the wadi like an avenging angel, miniguns blazing. Tracers ripped through the Russian positions, turning their coordinated assault into chaos and death. The helicopter settled into the wadi ramp, down door gunner still firing. A figure appeared in the door, Morrison reaching toward her. Maya ran. Bullets kicked up sand around her feet. She felt one tug at her sleeve, another graze her leg, but she kept moving. Morrison grabbed her arm and pulled her aboard as the helicopter lifted off. She collapsed on the deck, gasping, bleeding alive. "You stupid, reckless, insubordinate pain in the ass," Morrison said, but his voice held something Maya hadn't heard before: respect. "Did we get the intelligence?" Maya asked. "Chen, you almost died out there." "Did we get it?" Morrison smiled. "Yeah, your equipment transmitted everything before the Russians destroyed it. Al-Zawahiri's attack plans, his supplier network, the whole operation. Intelligence is already moving to shut it down. You saved thousands of lives tonight." Maya closed her eyes. "Good. That's good. And you disobeyed direct orders, abandoned your position, engaged the enemy against explicit instructions. I should have you court-martialed." "Yes, sir, you should. Except you also saved my entire team. Kept Sullivan alive long enough to get him to a surgeon, held off a superior force for 12 minutes with minimal ammunition, and completed the mission despite impossible odds." Morrison paused. "I've been a SEAL for 12 years, worked with hundreds of operators. You're one of the best I've ever seen." Maya opened her eyes and looked at him. "Permission to pass out now, sir." "Granted." She woke up in a field hospital somewhere. Bright lights. Antiseptic smell. The steady beep of monitors. Her feet were wrapped in bandages, her left hand too. An IV dripped fluid into her arm. Commander Torres sat in a chair beside the bed reading a report. "Welcome back," Torres said when she noticed Maya was awake. "You've been out for 16 hours. The team, Sullivan's in surgery but stable. Murphy's arm is set. Rodriguez will make a full recovery. Everyone else has minor injuries, thanks to you." Maya tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Every part of her body screamed in protest. "Easy," Torres said. "You've got second-degree burns on your hands from the road flare chemicals, lacerations on your feet that required 40 stitches, total a gunshot wound through your left calf, and severe dehydration. You need to rest." The intelligence package, already being acted on. CIA and European security services conducted coordinated raids 2 hours ago. They've arrested 37 suspects and seized enough sarin gas to kill 50,000 people. The subway attacks are completely disrupted. Maya let that sink in. 50,000 lives, because she hadn't followed orders. because she'd made the hard choice to engage instead of hiding. "There's going to be an investigation," Torres said quietly. "Admiral Harrington wants a full after-action review. Morrison's report is sitting on his desk right now." "Am I being court-martialed?" "I don't know. What you did violated standing orders, but what you did also worked. That's going to make it complicated." Torres leaned forward. "Between you and me, I think you did exactly what needed to be done. But the system doesn't always reward people who color outside the lines even when they save the day." Maya nodded slowly. "I understand." "Do you?" "Because there's a bigger issue here, Chen. You proved something last night. You proved that a 5'2" woman can hang with the best special operations soldiers in the world, can outshoot them, can outthink them, can do whatever it takes to complete the mission." Torres's voice intensified. "That scares a lot of people. People who have built their entire identity around being the elite warriors. And scared people do stupid things to protect their worldview. Like Sullivan. Sullivan's worldview got shattered last night. You saved his life after he spent weeks trying to break you. That's going to haunt him. Change him maybe. Or maybe it'll just make him angrier." The door opened. Morrison walked in, followed by Williams and Harris. "5 minutes," a nurse called after them. "She needs rest." Morrison approached the bed. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept since the mission. "How you feeling, Chen?" "Like I got run over by a truck, sir." "Yeah, well, you look like it too." He pulled up a chair. "I've been writing my after-action report, trying to figure out how to explain what happened out there." "Tell the truth, sir. I disobeyed orders. I abandoned my post. "You saved your team," Morrison interrupted. "You displayed initiative, tactical brilliance, and courage under fire that I've rarely seen. You completed the primary mission objective while simultaneously conducting one of the most effective single-operator defensive actions in recent JSOC history." He paused. "But yes, you also disobeyed direct orders. Multiple times." "What does your report say, sir?" Morrison pulled out a tablet and started reading. Petty Officer 2nd Class Maya Chen performed exceptionally during all phases of Operation Desert Hawk. Despite encountering enemy forces significantly larger than anticipated, she adapted to changing conditions and made tactical decisions that resulted in mission success and the preservation of American lives. Her actions were consistent with the highest traditions of naval special warfare. I recommend her for immediate promotion to Petty Officer 1st Class, an award of the Navy Cross for extraordinary heroism. The room went silent. "You're recommending me for the Navy Cross?" Maya's voice came out as a whisper. "It's the second highest valor decoration we can award. You earned it." Morrison looked at Williams and Harris. "We all agree. What you did out there was beyond the call of duty." Sullivan would disagree. "Sullivan's opinion is irrelevant," Williams said. "He's alive because of you. So am I. So is everyone on that team. The man can hate you all he wants, but he can't argue with results." Harris nodded. "The Master Chief's right. You proved yourself last night, Chen. Not just to us, but to yourself. Question is, what are you going to do with that proof?" Maya didn't have an answer. She'd spent her whole life trying to prove she belonged. Prove she was good enough. Prove that size and gender didn't matter if you had skill and determination. Last night, she'd proven all of that and more. But at what cost? She'd killed men. Maybe a dozen, maybe more. She'd stood alone against overwhelming odds and survived through violence and luck. She'd become exactly what her father had been, a warrior who solved problems with precision and force. Was that who she wanted to be? "I need to think about it, Master Chief," Maya said finally. "Fair enough. You've got time." Harris stood. "Get some rest. We'll check on you tomorrow." The 3 men filed out, leaving Maya alone with Torres again. "They're going to make you famous," Torres said quietly. "First woman to earn the Navy Cross in direct combat. First female SEAL candidate who actually completed a real-world direct action mission. The media is going to eat this up. I don't want to be famous. I just want to do my job." "I know, but that's not going to be an option anymore. You're a symbol now, Chen, whether you like it or not." Torres stood. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." After Torres left, Maya lay in the hospital bed staring at the ceiling. Her body hurt. Her feet would take weeks to heal. But none of that mattered compared to the weight settling on her chest. She'd won, proved everyone wrong, earned the respect of the hardest men in the military. So why did she feel so empty? Her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. "You got lucky, Chen. Next time you won't. Some doors aren't meant to be opened. Stay in your lane before you get someone else killed." Maya stared at the message. Anonymous. Threatening. Probably from someone on the base who didn't like the idea of women in special operations. She should report it. Should tell Torres or Morrison. Should do everything by the book. Instead, she deleted it and turned off her phone. Tomorrow she'd face whatever came next. The investigation, the politics, the aftermath of becoming someone she'd never planned to be. But tonight she'd survived, and that was enough. Maya was released from the hospital 3 days later with a pair of crutches and orders to stay off her feet for 2 weeks. The nurse who processed her discharge papers kept staring like Maya was some kind of exotic animal in a zoo. "Is it true what they're saying?" the nurse finally asked. "That you held off 50 enemy fighters by yourself?" "It was more like 20, Maya said. "And I wasn't by myself, I had air support." "After you'd already been fighting for 12 minutes alone." The nurse handed over the discharge papers. "My daughter is 17, wants to join the Navy. I keep telling her it's too dangerous for girls. But after hearing what you did..." Maya took the papers without responding. She didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know if she wanted to be the reason some 17-year-old girl ran toward danger instead of away from it. Commander Torres was waiting outside with a car. "How are the feet?" "Hurts like hell, ma'am. But the doctor says I'll make a full recovery." "Good, because you've got a meeting with Admiral Harrington in 2 hours. He wants to discuss your after-action report." Maya's stomach dropped. "Am I being charged?" "I don't know. Harrington's playing this close to the vest." Torres pulled out of the hospital parking lot. "What I do know is that there are people in Washington very interested in what happened in Yemen. Some of them think you're a hero. Others think you're a liability who got lucky. Which camp is the Admiral in? That's what we're about to find out." The drive to the Admiral's office took 30 minutes. Maya spent it rehearsing what she'd say, how she'd defend her decisions, why disobeying orders had been the only option that made sense. But when she sat down across from Admiral Robert Harrington, all her prepared speeches evaporated. Harrington was 63, with steel gray hair and eyes that had witnessed every kind of warfare the Navy could dish out. He'd been a SEAL himself back in the 80s, had commanded SEAL Team 2, had done things that were still classified decades later. "Petty Officer Chen," he said without preamble, "tell me why I shouldn't court-martial you." Maya met his gaze. "Because the mission succeeded, sir. Because every member of my team came home alive. Because we stopped an attack that would have killed thousands of civilians. Those are outcomes. I'm asking about decisions. You disobeyed a direct order from your team leader, multiple direct orders. You abandoned your assigned position. You engaged in combat operations outside your designated role." Harrington leaned forward. "Any one of those actions is grounds for court-martial. All three together. You should be in the brig right now." "Yes, sir." "So why aren't you..." Maya took a breath. "Because Lieutenant Commander Morrison recognized that my decisions, while technically insubordinate, achieved the mission objective and saved American lives. Because Senior Chief Williams and Master Chief Harris supported his assessment. Because the intelligence I gathered prevented a mass casualty terrorist attack. And because you got lucky," Harrington added. "If that helicopter had been delayed by 5 more minutes, you'd be dead or captured. If the Russians had better coordination, you'd be dead or captured. If any one of 100 variables had gone differently, we'd be planning a rescue operation or a memorial service. Yes, sir. I got lucky." "Luck isn't a strategy, Petty Officer. It's not something we can replicate or train for. And it's definitely not something we can count on in future operations." Harrington pulled up a file on his computer. "I've read Morrison's recommendation for your Navy Cross. I've read the intelligence assessment of your communications intercepts. I've read the tactical analysis of your defensive actions. By every objective measure, you performed extraordinarily. Thank you, sir." I'm not finished. I've also read the disciplinary concerns, the psychological evaluation, the assessment from multiple senior NCOs who think you're a loose cannon who'll get people killed. He paused. And I've read the anonymous complaints filed by personnel who think you're being promoted beyond your capabilities because of political correctness. Maya's jaw tightened. Sir, I didn't ask you to speak. I'm telling you how this looks from 30,000 feet. Harrington stood and walked to his window. You're 22 years old. You've been in the Navy for 4 years. You have 0 combat deployments prior to Yemen, and now you're being held up as proof that women can serve in direct action roles. I didn't ask for that, sir. No, you didn't. But it's happening anyway. The Secretary of Defense called me yesterday. Wants to use your story to support the integration initiative. The media is already running pieces about the female SEAL who saved her team. You're going to be famous, Chen, whether you want it or not. Maya said nothing. What could she say? Harrington turned back to face her. Here's what's going to happen. I'm approving Morrison's recommendation for the Navy Cross. You've earned it regardless of the political implications. I'm also recommending you for promotion to Petty Officer First Class. Relief flooded through Maya. Thank you, sir. However, you're being temporarily reassigned. No more direct action operations for the next 6 months. You're going to BUDS as an instructor. The relief turned to ice. Sir, I don't understand. I'm being punished. You're being protected, and you're going to help us figure out how to properly integrate women into special operations. Harrington sat back down. Right now, we have 3 female candidates in the BUDS pipeline. All 3 are struggling, facing the same prejudice you faced, the same doubts. They need someone who's been there and survived it to show them it's possible. I'm not qualified to be an instructor, sir. You're qualified to be proof that women can hack it. Proof that the standards don't need to be lowered. Proof that capability matters more than chromosomes. Harrington's voice softened slightly. I know this isn't what you signed up for. But sometimes the mission isn't what we want. It's what's needed. Maya thought about those 3 female candidates. Thought about the 17-year-old daughter of a nurse who wanted to join the Navy. Thought about all the women who'd come after her trying to walk through doors she'd kicked open. When do I start, Sir Monday. You'll have the weekend to get settled in Coronado. Commander Torres will handle the logistics. Harrington stood signaling the meeting was over. One more thing, Chen. The anonymous threats you've been receiving we're investigating. If we find out who's sending them, they'll face charges. In the meantime, report any new incidents immediately. How did you know about... I'm an admiral. I know everything that happens on my bases. He extended his hand. Welcome to the world of being a symbol petty officer. It's going to be harder than anything you faced in Yemen. Maya shook his hand and left her mind spinning. Torres was waiting in the corridor. Well, I'm being sent to BUDS as an instructor. No more missions for 6 months. Torres nodded slowly. Could be worse. Could be a desk job in some windowless basement at the Pentagon. At least that wouldn't involve dealing with candidates who hate me for existing. Some will hate you. Others will worship you. Most will just be trying to survive Hell Week and won't give a damn either way. Torres led her toward the exit. Besides, you won't be doing it alone. Morrison requested temporary assignment as senior instructor. He's coming with you. That surprised Maya. Why would he do that? Because he believes in you. Because he wants to make sure the integration happens right. Because underneath all that gruff SEAL exterior, he's actually a decent human being who cares about the future of the teams. They walked out into the California sunshine. Maya's feet throbbed with every step despite the crutches. There's someone waiting to see you, Torres said, nodding toward a figure standing by her car. Brad Sullivan stood there in civilian clothes, his arm in a sling, looking like he'd aged a decade in 3 days. I'll give you 2 some privacy, Torres said, walking to a different vehicle. Maya approached slowly. Gunny. Chen. Sullivan's voice was rough, like he'd been gargling gravel. They told me you were being released today. Wanted to talk to you before you disappeared. I'm not disappearing, just being reassigned. Yeah, I heard. BUDS instructor. That's good. Those candidates need someone like you. He shifted uncomfortably. Look, I'm not good at this, never have been, but I need to say something and I need you to listen. Maya waited. I was wrong about you. Wrong in every way that matters. I judged you before you even arrived. Decided you were a diversity hire, a political statement, someone who'd get real warriors killed. Sullivan's jaw worked. And then you saved my life. Not because you liked me. Not because I deserved it. But because that's who you are. You were wounded. Anyone would have... No, not anyone. Plenty of people would have left me to bleed out. Would have said I got what I deserved for being an asshole. He met her eyes. The doctors said I was minutes from bleeding out when the helicopter arrived. Minutes. You bought me those minutes by drawing enemy fire away from our position, by making yourself a target so we could survive. Maya didn't know what to say to that. I've been in the teams for 11 years, Sullivan continued. Worked with hundreds of operators. SEALs, Marine Raiders, Delta SAS, you name it. And I've never seen anyone do what you did in Yemen. The shooting, the tactical decisions under pressure, the pure balls it took to stay behind and fight. He paused. You're not just good enough to be on the team's Chen. You're better than most of us. Gunny, Let me finish. I made your life hell because I was scared. Scared that if women could do what I do, then maybe what I do isn't as special as I thought. Maybe I'm not as irreplaceable as my ego needs me to be. Sullivan looked down at his wounded arm. That's on me, my insecurity, my prejudice, and I'm sorry. The apology hung in the air between them. I accept your apology, Maya said quietly, and I'm glad you're going to be okay. I'm going to medical retirement. This arm isn't healing right. Nerve damage. I'll never pass the physical requirements again. Sullivan smiled, but it was bitter. 11 years and I'm done. While you're just getting started. There are worse ways to go out. You survived. You get to go home. Yeah, I do. And that's because of you. He extended his good hand. Thank you, Chen, for saving my life. For being bigger than my bullshit. For showing me that I was wrong. Maya shook his hand. Good luck, Gunny. In whatever comes next. Sullivan walked away, and Maya realized something had shifted. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. Sullivan had been shaped by his experiences, his training, his worldview. Challenging that worldview had threatened his identity, and when faced with evidence that his assumptions were wrong, he'd had two choices, adapt or double down. He'd chosen to adapt. That took courage too. The weekend passed in a blur of packing and preparation. Maya moved into instructor quarters at Coronado, unpacked her minimal belongings, and tried to mentally prepare for Monday morning. Sunday night, her phone rang. Morrison's voice. Chen, we need to talk. Can you meet me at the beach? 20 minutes later, Maya found Morrison sitting on the sand, staring out at the Pacific. Waves crashed in the darkness, rhythmic and eternal. Nice night, Maya said, sitting down beside him. I've been thinking about Yemen, Morrison said. About the decisions you made, the orders you disobeyed. Sir, if this is about... Let me talk. I've been going over it in my head for 3 days straight, analyzing every moment, and I keep coming back to the same conclusion: you were right, and I was wrong. Maya blinked. Sir, I put you in an impossible position. Told you to stay in your hide no matter what. Treated you like equipment instead of an operator. And when everything went sideways, you had to choose between following orders and saving lives. Morrison picked up a handful of sand, let it slip through his fingers. You chose lives. That's what a real operator does. You were trying to keep me safe. I was trying to keep my worldview intact. Same as Sullivan. Same as half the men on that team. Morrison turned to look at her. We've been doing this for so long that we forgot the mission isn't about preserving our egos. It's about completing objectives and bringing everyone home. You remembered that when I forgot it. I got lucky, sir. Like Admiral Harrington said. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. You were prepared. The opportunity presented itself. You executed. He tossed a stone into the waves. Tomorrow, we start training the next generation. Some of them will be women, and they're going to face the same crap you faced, maybe worse. I know. I need you to promise me something, Chen. Promise me you won't let them break you. Won't let them make you smaller or quieter or less than you are, because those female candidates need to see what right looks like. They need someone who's been through the fire and came out forged instead of burned. I promise, sir. They sat in silence for a while watching the waves. Finally, Morrison stood. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. Monday morning arrived with the inevitability of a firing squad. Maya reported to the Buds training compound at Euro 500, her feet still tender but functional. Morrison was already there, along with Master Chief Wilson, the senior SEAL instructor, who'd been running Buds for the past 5 years. Petty Officer Chen, Wilson said, his voice like gravel in a cement mixer. Welcome to the machine that breaks boys and makes warriors, or sends them home crying, usually both. Thank you, Master Chief. Don't thank me yet. You're going to hate this job. Everyone does. Watching candidates suffer, knowing you can't help them, can't make it easier. All you can do is evaluate whether they have what it takes. Wilson gestured toward the beach where candidates were already running. We've got 42 in this class, started with 78. 3 of those 42 are women. Maya watched the candidates struggle through sand runs. Which ones? You'll figure it out. But I'll tell you what I told Morrison, you play no favorites. Women don't get special treatment. They don't get extra encouragement. They succeed or fail on the same standards as everyone else. Are we clear, Crystal Master Chief? Good, because if I catch you going easy on them, I'll have your ass off this compound so fast you'll leave a Chen-shaped hole in the air. The first week was brutal. Not for Maya, but for watching the candidates suffer through the grinder. Cold water immersions, log PT, endless runs, tests designed to find the breaking point of human endurance and then push past it. She identified the 3 female candidates easily. Lieutenant Jane Hawkins, 26 former Army Ranger, who'd transferred to Navy to attempt SEAL training. Petty Officer First Class Rachel Torres, no relation to Commander Torres, 28 former EOD technician. And Petty Officer Third Class Lisa Chen, also no relation, 23 former college athlete. All 3 were struggling. Hawkins had the physical capability but was battling institutional resistance. Male candidates accidentally bumped her during drills. Instructors called her out for minor infractions they ignored in men. She was being held to a different standard, and everyone knew it. Torres was the opposite problem. She was trying so hard to prove herself that she was burning out, volunteering for every extra evolution, never showing weakness, pushing until her body was breaking down. And Lisa Chen was just trying to survive. She was the smallest candidate in the class, barely meeting the height requirement, and every physical evolution was maximum effort for her. Maya watched it all and said nothing. Those were Wilson's orders. No favorites, no help. But on the second Friday, she found Lisa Chen sitting alone after a particularly brutal day, crying quietly where she thought no one could see. Maya approached slowly. Petty Officer. Lisa jumped to attention, wiping her eyes. Ma'am. At ease. What's wrong? Nothing, ma'am. Just tired. Bullshit. You're thinking about ringing out. I can see it in your face. Lisa's composure cracked. I can't keep up. Everyone else is bigger, stronger, faster. I'm always last in everything. The instructors are waiting for me to quit. The other candidates think I'm a joke. Maybe I am. Maya sat down beside her. You know what I was told when I first showed up at Coronado, that I was too small, too weak, that I'd never make it, that I was wasting everyone's time. But you proved them wrong. Eventually. But first I had doubts. First I wondered if they were right. If maybe I was fooling myself about belonging here. Maya looked out at the ocean. You want to know what changed? What? I stopped trying to be as strong as them, started trying to be better than them at what I could control. They're bigger, fine. I'll be more precise. They're faster. Okay. I'll be smarter about route selection. They can carry more weight. I'll pack more efficiently. Lisa wiped her eyes. It's not the same. You're an instructor now. You made it. I made it because I refused to quit, even when every rational part of my brain was screaming that I should. Maya stood. You want my advice? Stop comparing yourself to everyone else. The only person you need to be better than is the version of you that showed up yesterday. If you can do that every single day, eventually you'll look back and realize you became exactly who you needed to be. What if I can't? Then you can't. And there's no shame in that. Buds isn't for everyone. But you don't get to quit because you're scared. You only get to quit when you've given everything and there's nothing left. Maya started walking away, then stopped. My father used to say that courage isn't not being afraid. It's being terrified and doing it anyway. Think about that. The next morning, Lisa Chen was first in her boat crew for log PT. She wasn't the strongest, but she was the loudest, the most motivated, pushing her team to work together instead of relying on individual strength. Wilson noticed. You talked to her. Just shared some perspective, Master Chief. I told you no favorites. I didn't give her anything she hasn't earned, just reminded her why she's here. Maya met his gaze. Was I wrong? Wilson smiled slightly. No. You were exactly right. Keep it up. Week 3 brought Hell Week. 5.5 days of continuous training with a maximum of 4 hours of sleep total. The crucible that separated those who wanted it from those who needed it. Maya barely slept during Hell Week herself, monitoring candidates, watching for signs of hypothermia or heat injury, making sure the suffering stayed within acceptable parameters. By day 3, the class had dropped from 42 to 23. Hawkins was still in. Torres was still in. Lisa Chen was still in, though she looked like death on 2 legs. Day 4, Hawkins got injured, rolled her ankle during a beach run. The medical team evaluated her severe sprain, not broken, but continuing, would risk permanent damage. I can finish, Hawkins insisted. Just tape it up. The doctor shook his head. You finish Hell Week on that ankle, you might never run again. I'm pulling you from training. No, I can do this. Maya stepped in. Lieutenant, listen to me. This isn't about toughness. This isn't about proving you can push through pain. This is about making a tactical decision. If you destroy your ankle now, you're done. But if you heal, you can recycle to the next class and try again. They'll say I quit. They'll say women can't hack it. They'll say that anyway. Some people will always find reasons to doubt you. But if you get permanently injured trying to prove them wrong, you're just giving them a different excuse. Maya softened her voice. Take the medical role. Heal. Come back stronger. That's what a smart operator does. Hawkins left in tears, but she left on her feet instead of a stretcher. Day 5. Torres collapsed during surf torture. Hypothermia. Her core temperature had dropped to dangerous levels, and she wasn't responding to verbal commands. They pulled her out, warmed her up, and transported her to medical. She'd survive, but Hell Week was over for her. That left Lisa Chen as the only female candidate still standing. Day 6. The final day involved the most brutal evolution of all around the world. A run carrying boats on their heads circumnavigating the entire training area. Miles of sand surf and suffering. Lisa's boat crew was struggling. Their tallest member had quit the previous night, leaving them with uneven height distribution. The boat kept tilting, putting extra weight on shorter members. Maya watched Lisa fight to keep the boat balanced, her face a mask of determination and pain. Watched her encourage her boat crew when they wanted to quit. Watched her refuse to give up even when every step looked like agony. She's going to make it, Morrison said, appearing beside Maya. Yeah, she is. Because of you, because you showed her it was possible. Maya shook her head. She's making it because of herself. I just reminded her of what she already had inside. Lisa Chen finished Hell Week. She was the only female candidate to complete it in this class, but she finished. When the bell rang, signaling the end of Hell Week, when the surviving candidates collapsed in the sand, Lisa looked up and found Maya in the crowd of instructors. Maya nodded once. That's all it took. The weeks after Hell Week were almost anticlimactic. More training, more evolution, more candidates dropping as the physical requirements intensified. But Lisa Chen kept showing up. kept improving, kept refusing to quit. Maya returned to her quarters one evening to find a message waiting. Commander Torres, call me. Urgent. What's wrong? Maya asked when Torres answered. Intelligence just flagged something. Remember Colonel Volkov, the Russian from Yemen? Hard to forget him. He's in the United States. Entered on a diplomatic passport 3 days ago. And Maya, our sources say he specifically asked about you. Wanted to know your location, your schedule, everything. Maya's blood went cold. You think he's here for revenge? I think we need to take precautions. I've arranged for additional security around your quarters. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't follow any predictable patterns. And Chen, keep your sidearm close. Maya hung up and stared at her service weapon locked in its case beside her bed. She'd survived Yemen, survived the prejudice and the doubt and the physical trials. But now she faced a different kind of threat. One that came from shadows and whispers and the enemies she'd made by being too good at her job. The cost of breaking barriers, she realized, wasn't just the initial struggle. It was everything that came after. The targets on your back, the people who wanted to see you fail, the price of being first. But she'd paid it willingly, and she'd keep paying it for as long as it took, because somewhere a 17-year-old girl was deciding whether to join the Navy, and she needed to know that women could do this, could survive this, could excel at this. That was worth any price. Maya kept her sidearm loaded from that night forward. She varied her routes to the training compound, never left base alone, and watched every shadow like it might contain a Russian colonel with a grudge. But a week passed with no incidents. Then 2 weeks. Torres called it a false alarm, said maybe Volkov had just been passing through, conducting routine intelligence gathering. Maya didn't believe it for a second. On the third Wednesday, she was running night navigation training with the candidates when her phone buzzed. Morrison's name flashed on the screen. Chen, get to Building 7, now, and bring your gear. She found Morrison, Torres, and Admiral Harrington waiting in the secure briefing room. 3 other people sat at the table, 2 men in suits, and a woman Maya recognized from the news, Deputy Director Sarah Mitchell from the FBI. Petty Officer Chen, thank you for coming so quickly, Mitchell said. We have a situation that requires your unique skill set. Maya sat down slowly. What kind of situation? 3 hours ago, we received credible intelligence about a terrorist cell operating in San Diego. Not foreign terrorists, domestic. Former military personnel radicalized by extremist ideology. Mitchell pulled up photos on the screen. 8 faces. All men. All with military backgrounds. They're planning an attack on this base, specifically on the Bud's graduation ceremony scheduled for Friday. That's 2 days from now, Maya said. Correct. The ceremony will have 500 people in attendance, including families, media, and senior naval leadership. The terrorists plan to detonate truck bombs at the entrance, then assault the ceremony with small arms fire. Casualties could be in the hundreds. Harrington leaned forward. The leader of this cell is someone you've encountered before, Chen. Someone with a personal grudge. The screen changed. Maya's blood turned to ice. Colonel Dmitry Volkov stared back at her from the photograph. But he's Russian military, Maya said. Why would he work with domestic terrorists? Because he's not here as a Russian operative, one of the suited men said. He's here on his own time, personal leave. We believe he's coordinating this attack as revenge for what happened in Yemen. Revenge specifically against you. Morrison spoke up. The domestic terrorists are providing the resources and manpower. Volkov is providing tactical expertise and motivation. He's convinced them that the Navy's integration of women into combat roles represents everything wrong with America, that stopping it requires drastic action. How do you know all this? Maya asked. We have an informant inside the cell, Mitchell said. But his position is precarious. We can't move on them directly without risking his cover and losing the location of their weapons cache. We need someone who can infiltrate the group, gain Volkov's trust, and feed us real-time intelligence so we can shut them down before Friday. Understanding dawned. You want me to go undercover? You specifically, Mitchell confirmed. You're the perfect candidate. You're small, female, and publicly associated with the Integration Initiative. If you approached them claiming to be disillusioned with how the Navy treated you, claiming you want revenge for being used as a political pawn, Volkov might believe it. Might, Maya's voice was sharp. You're asking me to walk into a group of armed extremists on a might. Volkov knows you, Morrison said quietly. He saw you fight in Yemen. He respects your capabilities even as he hates what you represent. That's the angle. You approach him as a fellow warrior who's been betrayed by politicians. Someone who understands that ideals matter more than institutional loyalty. That's insane. He tried to kill me. In combat. Following his orders. This is different. Harrington's voice carried weight. I know what we're asking, Chen. I know the risk. But if we don't stop this attack, Lisa Chen will die. Along with 22 other candidates who just survived Hell Week. Along with their families who came to watch them graduate. The room fell silent. Maya thought about Lisa, about watching her push through Hell Week, about the promise she'd made to herself to be the example that other women needed. How would the infiltration work? Mitchell outlined the plan. Their informant would arrange a meeting claiming he'd found a disgruntled female sailor who wanted to help their cause. Maya would present herself as angry, betrayed, willing to provide inside intelligence about base security in exchange for being part of the attack. What's my cover story? Maya asked. The truth, mostly. You were sent to Yemen, disobeyed orders to save your team, got put on instructor duty instead of being allowed to continue operations. The Navy's using you as a poster child while keeping you away from real combat. You're angry about it. Want revenge. Torres spoke carefully. The best cover stories are the ones closest to reality. When would this happen? Tonight. The meeting is set for 2200 hours at an abandoned warehouse in National City. Our informant will introduce you. After that, you're on your own until you can establish communication. Maya looked at each person in the room. If this goes wrong, it won't. Morrison interrupted. Because I'll be on Overwatch. Harris and Williams will be on standby for extraction. We're not sending you in there without support. But Volkov will be looking for surveillance. If he spots your team. He won't. We're good at this, Chen. Trust us. Maya took a breath. Okay, I'll do it. The next 6 hours were a blur of preparation. Maya changed into civilian clothes, jeans, leather jacket, looking nothing like a naval officer. She was wired with a nearly undetectable communications device that would transmit to Morrison's team, given a cover identity with just enough truth to be believable. At 21:45, she climbed into an unmarked car with the FBI informant. His name was Jake, or at least that's what he was calling himself. Former Army Ranger who'd infiltrated the cell 3 months ago. Volkov's smart, Jake said as they drove. Paranoid. He'll check you for weapons, for wires, for any sign you're not who you claim to be. The moment he suspects you're a plant, you're dead. Comforting. I'm serious. These guys aren't playing games. They've got military-grade explosives, automatic weapons, and the training to use them. And Volkov, he's killed more people than everyone else in that room combined. Maya touched the small device hidden in her jacket lining. I know who he is. I fought him in Yemen, remember? That's what worries me. He might recognize you're too good at this, might realize you're playing him. They pulled up to the warehouse at 21:55. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. This was different from Yemen. In Yemen, she'd had rules of engagement, chain of command, the backing of the United States military. Here she was walking into a room full of people who wanted to kill everything she represented. You ready? Jake asked. No. Let's go. The warehouse was exactly what you'd expect from a terrorist meeting place, dark, filthy, filled with shadows. 6 men waited inside. 5 Americans, all former military, all radiating violence like heat from a furnace. And Volkov. He stood when Maya entered, his eyes narrowing. So, the little SEAL who saved her team. I remember you. Good, Maya said, keeping her voice flat and angry. Because I remember you too. You almost killed me. Almost, but not quite. You fought well that night. Volkov circled her slowly. Jake tells me you want to help our cause. Why should I believe you? Because the Navy is using me, turned me into a recruitment poster while keeping me away from real combat. They don't want a warrior, they want a symbol, someone who'll smile for cameras and tell little girls they can be SEALs too. And this makes you angry. It makes me furious. I proved myself, saved my entire team, stopped a terrorist attack, and my reward, teaching children to do jumping jacks on a beach. Maya let real bitterness creep into her voice. I didn't join the Navy to be a political statement. I joined to serve, to fight. They took that away from me. Volkov studied her. You could request transfer, return to intelligence work, where they'll keep using me the same way. No, I'm done being their puppet. Maya met his eyes. Jake says you're planning something that will make a statement about what the military has become. I want to help. By betraying your country, by defending what my country is supposed to be. The military should be about capability and merit, not about checking diversity boxes and appeasing politicians. The words tasted like poison, but Maya forced them out. You understand that. You're a soldier. You know what happens when standards get lowered for the wrong reasons. Something shifted in Volkov's expression. In Russia, women serve in military. This is not new, but they serve in appropriate roles, support, intelligence, not pretending to be Spetsnaz. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. One of the American men spoke up. She's lying, Colonel. This is obviously a trap. She's probably wired right now. Volkov held up a hand. Then we check. He pulled out a device that Maya recognized as a bug detector, swept it over her body. It beeped near her phone. Just my phone, Maya said, pulling it out and handing it over. You want to check it? Volkov examined the phone, found nothing suspicious, and continued his sweep. The device passed within inches of the communications device hidden in her jacket lining. Maya held her breath. The detector didn't react. The FBI's tech guys were as good as they'd promised. She is clean, Volkov said finally. But that does not mean she is trustworthy. He turned back to Maya. You want to prove yourself. Tell me the security protocol for the graduation ceremony. How many guards? What weapons they carry? Checkpoint procedures. This was the test. Give him information that seemed valuable, but was actually useless or already compromised. Maya ran through the details, providing accurate information about public knowledge items, while carefully avoiding anything that would actually help the attack succeed. She'd been briefed on exactly what she could and couldn't reveal. Volkov listened carefully, occasionally asking follow-up questions, testing her knowledge, testing her, looking for inconsistencies. Finally, he nodded. This information is useful, but I need more. I need you to provide updated security plans for Friday, the final positions, the response protocols, everything. I can do that, but I want something in return. What? I want to be there when it happens. I want to see the faces of the officers who used me when they realize what's about to happen. Maya's voice was cold. I earned that. Volkov smiled. You want to watch them die. I want them to know that I'm the reason they're dying, that the woman they underestimated is the one who destroyed them. One of the American men laughed. I like her, Colonel. She's got fire. Volkov studied Maya for a long moment. Very well. You provide the security updates tomorrow night. If the information is accurate, you can participate in the operation. But understand this, if you betray us, I will personally make sure you die slowly. Very slowly. I understand. Good. Jake will contact you with the meeting location. Volkov turned away, dismissing her. Now go. We have planning to complete. Maya left with Jake fighting the urge to run. Only when they were in the car and 3 blocks away did she allow herself to breathe normally. You did good, Jake said. He bought it. He suspects something. I could see it in his eyes. Of course he suspects. He's a professional. But he wants to believe you're real because you give him access to information he needs. Jake glanced at her. Can you get the security updates he wants? That's not my decision. The FBI will have to decide what we feed him. Morrison's voice crackled through her hidden earpiece. Chen, excellent work. We recorded everything. Mitchell is already working on the security information we'll provide. It'll be accurate enough to maintain your cover, but structured to help us neutralize the threat. Maya touched her ear to acknowledge she'd heard. Back at base, she met with Mitchell, Morrison, and Harrington again for the debrief. They'd recorded the entire meeting, analyzed Volkov's responses, and were building a tactical plan. He's going to use the information you provide to plan his assault, Mitchell explained, but we'll structure that information to funnel his team into kill zones where we can neutralize them with minimal collateral damage. What about Volkov himself? He's our primary target. Once we have confirmation of the attack plan, we'll coordinate with State Department to have his diplomatic immunity revoked. Then he's ours. Maya nodded. When do I meet them again? Tomorrow night. Same location. You'll provide the security information, and they'll brief you on your role in the attack. Morrison leaned forward. Chen, you need to understand, once you're embedded with them, once you know the full plan, they're not going to let you leave. You'll be with them from that moment until we execute the takedown. How long? Could be hours. Could be a day. You'll be in constant danger with no way out until we move. Maya thought about Lisa Chen and the other candidates, about the families who'd be at that graduation, about the price of letting this attack succeed. I understand, sir. I'll do whatever's necessary. The next 24 hours crawled by. Maya went through the motions of her instructor duties, all while knowing she'd be walking back into danger that night. She caught Lisa watching her during a training evolution. You okay, ma'am? Lisa asked during a water break. You seem distracted. Just thinking about Friday. The graduation ceremony. It's going to be special. Because I'm the first woman from this class to make it. Because you earned your place. All 23 of you who survived did. Maya paused. No matter what happens, remember that. You belong here. Lisa looked confused by the intensity of Maya's words. Yes, ma'am. That night, Maya returned to the warehouse. This time, all 8 members of the terrorist cell were present along with Volkov. Weapons were visible now, AR-15's body armor, enough firepower to turn the graduation ceremony into a massacre. You brought the security updates, Volkov asked immediately. Maya handed over a USB drive. Everything you asked for. Guard positions, response protocols, communication frequencies. One of the men plugged the drive into a laptop and pulled up the files, studied them carefully. This is good intel. Real good. Where'd you get it? I'm an instructor. I have access to security briefings. Maya kept her voice steady. It's all current as of this morning. Volkov examined the information, cross-referencing it with maps and aerial photos. After 10 minutes, he nodded. This matches what we already knew. She is telling the truth. Relief flooded through Maya, though she didn't let it show. Here is the plan, Volkov said, pulling up a tactical map. The graduation begins at 1,000 hours. At 09:45, 2 trucks loaded with explosives will approach the main entrance. Jake and Marcus will be driving. When they detonate, that will create chaos and draw emergency response. While everyone's focused on the entrance, the rest of us enter from the beach side, one of the other men added. We've got boats staged 3 miles offshore, fast in, fast out. Our target is not maximum casualties, Volkov clarified. Our target is symbolic impact. We want to kill the female candidates, the instructors who trained them, the senior officers who approved the integration program. We send a message that this experiment ends in blood. Maya forced herself to stay calm, to not react. Where do I fit in? You will be in the ceremony as an instructor. When the explosions occur, you will guide Lisa Chen and the other candidates to a specific location. Volkov pointed to a spot on the map. Here, away from the main response, where we can eliminate them efficiently. You want me to herd them to their execution? Yes. You will tell them you are protecting them, leading them to safety, and instead, you lead them to us. Volkov smiled. Poetic, no. The female seal who inspired them becomes the instrument of their deaths. Every instinct screamed at Maya to attack, to fight, to kill these men where they stood. But she was outnumbered and outgunned. Her only chance was to stay calm, stay in character, and trust that Morrison's team was listening to every word. I can do that, Maya said quietly. Good. You will stay with us from now until the operation. No phones, no contact with anyone outside this group. We cannot risk you changing your mind or being discovered." Maya's stomach dropped. She'd expected this, but having it confirmed was different. "I understand." For the next 30 hours, Maya lived with the terrorists, slept in shifts in the warehouse, ate MREs and drank stale water, watched them prepare weapons, run rehearsals, build bombs that would tear human bodies into unrecognizable pieces. And all the while her hidden communications device transmitted everything to Morrison's team. On Friday morning, they loaded into vehicles at 0600 hours. Maya rode with Volkov and 2 others in an SUV. They had body armor weapons and the cold efficiency of men who'd killed before and would kill again. "You are nervous," Volkov observed. "I'm about to watch people die," Maya said. "People I trained with." "This troubles you." "It's necessary. That doesn't make it easy." Volkov nodded approvingly. "Good. If it was easy, you would be a psychopath." "We are not psychopaths. We are soldiers doing what must be done for our beliefs." They reached the staging area, an abandoned building with a view of the base. The boats were ready offshore. The truck bombs were en route to the main gate. Everything was in position. Maya checked her watch. 8:30 hours. 90 minutes until the ceremony started. 75 minutes until the bombs would detonate. Somewhere on this base, Morrison and his team were moving into position. Federal agents were coordinating with base security. Snipers were taking positions. The trap was being set. But Maya was in the middle of it, surrounded by armed men who would kill her the moment they realized she'd betrayed them. At 09:15, Volkov's radio crackled. "Trucks are in position. Timers set for 09:45. "Copy," Volkov responded. He turned to his team. "Prepare to move. Boats launch at 09:46. We will be on the beach by 09:50. Remember, our targets are specific. The female candidates. Their instructors, Admiral Harrington. We do not waste ammunition on families or media." The men checked their weapons. Maya did the same with the rifle she'd been given, making sure it was loaded and functional. She'd need it when things went sideways. 09:30 hours. 15 minutes until the bombs. Maya's earpiece crackled so quietly she almost missed it. Morrison's voice barely audible. "Chen FBI is in position. On my signal, drop flat. We're taking them." Maya's heart raced. The takedown was happening now, but she couldn't respond, couldn't acknowledge, could only wait and trust. 09:35 hours, 10 minutes. Volkov stood. "Time to move to the boats." They filed out of the building toward the beach where 3 Zodiac boats waited. Maya stayed in the middle of the group, counting steps, calculating angles. 09:40 hours, 5 minutes until the bombs. They reached the boats. Men were climbing aboard when Maya heard it, the distinctive crack of a suppressed rifle. The man next to her dropped, blood spraying from his head. Everything exploded into chaos. "Ambush!" Volkov yelled, diving for cover. More shots. More men falling. Maya threw herself flat as Morrison's team engaged from multiple directions. Volkov returned fire, his rifle barking. "It's a trap. She betrayed us." Maya rolled behind a boat, grabbed her rifle, and started firing at the terrorists, not at Morrison's team, dropping targets who were too focused on the assault to notice where the shots were coming from. "Federal agents, drop your weapons." The call came from multiple directions. Most of the terrorists died fighting. Jake surrendered immediately, his cover blown, but his life preserved. Within 90 seconds, it was over, except for Volkov. He disappeared in the chaos. Maya scanned the area, weapon up, looking for movement. "Chen status," Morrison's voice in her ear. Volkov's rabbit, lost visual. "Copy, stay alert." Maya moved carefully through the boats and equipment, every sense heightened. Volkov was Spetsnaz-trained expert in escape and evasion. He could be anywhere. She heard it a split second before the attack, the whisper of fabric on concrete. Maya spun, but Volkov was already on her. His rifle cracked across her head, sending her sprawling. The world spun. Blood ran into her eyes. Volkov kicked her weapon away and stood over her, his own rifle pointed at her face. "I knew," he said quietly. "From the moment I saw you, I knew you might be a plant, but I wanted to believe you were real." wanted to believe that even the enemy could see the truth. He shook his head. I was wrong. You were always wrong, Maya said, tasting blood. About women, about capability, about everything. Perhaps, but I will still have the last word. His finger tightened on the trigger. Maya moved, not away from the rifle, but toward it, using Volkov's own momentum and surprise against him. She grabbed the barrel, pushed it aside as it fired. The round went wide, missing her by inches. They grappled for control of the weapon. Volkov was bigger, stronger, but Maya was faster and more desperate. She got inside his reach, drove her elbow into his throat, and twisted the rifle from his hands. Both of them scrambled for weapons. Volkov drew a knife. Maya backed away, looking for an opening. You fight well, Volkov said. Like a warrior, but you serve the wrong cause. I serve the people you wanted to kill. That's the right cause. They circled each other. Volkov lunged, knife flashing. Maya sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and used his momentum to throw him into the concrete wall. He hit hard, but rolled away from her follow-up strike. Came up with the knife still in hand. Chen. Morrison appeared, weapon raised. Step away. Volkov smiled and charged Morrison instead of Maya. Morrison fired twice, both rounds, center mass. Volkov dropped and didn't move again. Maya stood there, breathing hard, bleeding from her head, covered in sand and blood that wasn't all hers. Morrison approached slowly. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Maya looked at Volkov's body. Is it really over? The trucks were intercepted before they reached the gate. The rest of the cell is dead or in custody. The graduation ceremony will proceed as scheduled. Morrison put a hand on her shoulder. You saved hundreds of lives today, Chen, maybe thousands. That security information you provided, it let us position our response perfectly. Volkov walked right into the trap. He knew. He suspected from the beginning. But he wanted to believe his own prejudices more than he wanted to trust his instincts. That's what killed him in the end. Morrison radioed for medical. Come on, let's get you patched up. You've got a graduation ceremony to attend. 3 hours later, Maya stood at attention in her dress uniform, her head bandaged, watching 23 candidates receive their certificates of completion. Lisa Chen walked across that stage with her head held high, and when she shook Admiral Harrington's hand, she looked out into the crowd and found Maya. The pride in that moment was worth every sacrifice, every doubt, every hard decision. After the ceremony, families and media swarmed the new graduates. Maya tried to slip away quietly, but Lisa caught her. Ma'am, wait, I wanted to thank you for what you did all the work, for showing me it was possible, for being proof that women belong here. Lisa smiled. And for whatever happened last night that put that bandage on your head. We heard rumors about a threat that was stopped, about someone who went undercover to protect us. Maya said nothing. You don't have to confirm it, Lisa continued. But if it was you, if you put yourself in danger to keep us safe, then thank you for that too. Just doing my job, petty officer. No, ma'am, you were being who we needed you to be. That's different. That's bigger. Lisa walked away to rejoin her family, leaving Maya standing alone. Torres appeared beside her. The FBI wants to give you a commendation. So does the Secretary of Defense. You're going to be famous all over again. I don't want to be famous. I know, but sometimes the mission isn't what we want. It's what's needed. Torres smiled. Besides, you've earned a break. Admiral Harrington is approving a 2-week leave. Suggested you go somewhere quiet and recover. What about my instructor duties? Someone else can handle them for 2 weeks. You've done enough, Maya. More than enough. That night, Maya sat alone on the beach watching the waves. Her phone buzzed with messages from Morrison, from Williams, from Harris, from a dozen other people congratulating her or asking for interviews or wanting something from her. She turned the phone off. Tomorrow she'd deal with fame and consequences and the next mission. But tonight she just wanted to sit here and remember why she'd started this journey in the first place. Her father's voice echoed one last time. Size doesn't matter behind a scope, Maya Bear. Breathing patience mathematics. That's all you need. He'd been wrong about one thing. You needed more than that. You needed courage. You needed resilience. You needed the ability to stand up when everyone told you to sit down, to push forward, when everyone said you'd fail, to be exactly who you were, even when the world demanded you be someone smaller. Maya Chen had proven she had all of that, and more. She'd earned her place not through politics or favoritism, but through blood and sacrifice and unwavering determination. She'd saved lives, stopped attacks, and opened doors for every woman who'd come after her. The cost had been high. The struggles had been brutal. The battles weren't over. But she'd never been one to back down from a fight. And she sure as hell wasn't about to start now. Maya Chen, petty officer, first-class Navy Cross recipient, SEAL instructor, and proof that excellence knows no gender, stood up from the sand and walked back toward the base. Back toward whatever came next. Back toward the life she'd chosen and the mission she'd accepted. Because in the end, that's what warriors do. They show up, they do the work, they pay the price, and they inspire the next generation to be even better than they were.